in order to do good bottom of funnel content, you have to have a good mix of not just content marketing, but product marketing too. And a lot of teams are not aligned in that area. So what I find is that a lot of in-house teams communications are siloed, right? So the sales team only talks to the sales team and the product team only talks to the product team. So it's like getting in and kind of being a liaison between these teams to be able to bring the information together is like really what helps them out. And I think teams struggle with that so much, which is why there's so much demand.
For anyone who's interested in getting more sales in their business, conversions matter. And today I am taking you behind the scenes of one of our masterminds inside the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. Each week, I bring experts in a particular topic to dig in super deep on one aspect of marketing. And on this week's episode that I'm sharing with you, Lashay Lewis, who is a BOFU expert, and if you don't know what BOFU means, it means bottom of the funnel. She's an expert on how to create email campaigns and email content that converts lookers into buyers. So if you feel like you're doing all of the things for marketing and just not getting the results that you want, you're going to want to tune in to today's episode. So Lashay Lewis is a renowned content strategist and the founder of Authority Plug, a consultancy specializing in driving measurable organic results for B2B SaaS companies. With a proven track record of generating over 7 figures in attributable pipeline for clients, Lashay's expertise lies in crafting bottom of the funnel or that BOFU content strategies that truly convert. She has trained and empowered over a dozen teams on BOFU content creation, ensuring their marketing efforts drive revenue and growth. In addition, Lashay's shared her knowledge with hundreds of content marketers, helping them to increase their skills and deliver impactful results. Known for her strategic insights and hands-on approach, Lashay is a trusted leader in this space. She knows what it takes to turn content into a powerful business asset. This is one of the juiciest masterminds that we've had inside the accelerator. I am so pleased to bring this content to you. And if you're interested in learning more about the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator, where you have one-to-one contact with these mastermind geniuses and can ask your own questions about your own business and get their insights directly, you can learn more at Ugli Ventures, that's Ugly with an I, ugliventures.com/accelerator. Now, without further ado, enjoy this episode with Lashay Lewis.
Guys, I'm just going to quickly introduce Lashay, but I'm going to let her introduce herself probably better than I will. But so Lashay, I would say like stalking on LinkedIn for a couple months and just have been so impressed with like her content, her depth of knowledge. And she has a very specific area of focus where she helps startups and entrepreneurs, founders directly with building out their bottom of the funnel strategy, or BOFU, because everyone has to follow Lashay now after this on LinkedIn, and you're going to see BOFU show up in your feed all the time. So we had a call and I graciously invited her to come and run a masterclass, which is going to live on the platform. We're also going to release this as a podcast episode so you guys can come back to it. And she's going to just spill all of her knowledge about how we really get those conversions, because it's very nuanced how we connect and talk with our audiences at different stages of their buying journey. And so I'm so pleased to invite Lashay into our family here, our community. So Lashay, this is just a couple of the people from the accelerator that are able to join us live. So explain a little about you and your story. And I want you to talk a little bit about the talk that you made everyone cry last week that you were on stage.
Yeah, so I spoke at the Exit 5 event. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's like a really big B2B marketing community. And it was my first time ever speaking publicly. So that was fun. but in the middle of the talk, like I completely blanked out. And I had to kind of yeah, I had to let people know that I blanked out. I don't know. It's just, it is funny because people came back and told me, they were like, I couldn't even tell you were nervous. So it was one of those things where I was like kind of psyching myself out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it went really, really well. Like it was a really nice segment. What I'll do is I'll get the recording that they have
Yes, please.
to you so you can share it with everybody. But it was really nice. It was about niching down and productizing your consultancy. So if anybody here has consultancies, it's like one thing that has really changed the whole face of my business is being able to niche down and productize. It cuts your hours working. It really decreases your scope of work. It's just so many benefits to doing that. So the talk was mainly about that and just teaching people kind of like the steps on how to just niche down and productize. And I did a nice little segment at the end where it's like, I wrote down some people's birthday and put a dash after their birth date and let them know, like, you're living in this dash right now. We don't know when that second date is going to pop up. And, people, they loved it.
Oh, I
So,
love it. I love it. And I think yes, send that through because even we've got a lot of different types of businesses here. We've got some SaaS, we've got service, we've got B2B product, but the lesson of niching down, let me tell you, like, I don't care what you do. Niching down it's a painful process because it's the process of us sometimes having to say no to serving some people. And so that's why a lot of people resist it because we want to, it's like, we can sell to everyone, right? But I say on this call, we have got Wendy Lucas, who works for a commercial roofer. She's the marketing director there. But what's interesting is that what I love her business so much is they only do commercial roofing, which is like, there's all roofs of all sorts of things, but their companies do incredibly well. I mean, like, I don't know, upwards of 20 million, probably much more in revenue a year now with the acquisition. And I think one of the core reasons it's like, they only do one thing, they do it really well. And they've been able to make a name for themselves because of niche. It's like, it's so much easier to get that brand recognition if you're known for one thing, right? So anyway, let's back up. Explain a little bit about you and really what you're going to teach us today, because we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for taking your time to chat with us today.
of course. So, for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Lashay Lewis. I worked in-house as a content strategist for maybe between in-house and agencies, probably for like 10 years. So I started building websites when I was maybe about 15 or so. When I was probably about 18 to 20, started working across different agencies and stuff like that. And then I kind of got burnt out, per the usual story, like of getting burnt out over a period of time because when I was in-house, I kept hitting a ceiling with like my salary, which was around 75K a year. And I'm like, damn, like I cannot break this ceiling for whatever reason. And I felt like at the time, like I had the skills, the knowledge, and the expertise to be able to make more than that. Come to find out I did have those, but it took me leaving in-house and going to the open market to figure that out. So now what I do is I consult for software companies on their content strategies, specifically bottom of funnel and, helping teams kind of operationalize that process and things like that. So that's what I've been doing over the past year since taking that step out of in-house. And yeah, from there, it's just been, now I'm kind of diving a little bit more into, in conjunction with teaching people bottom of funnel. Now it's kind of like teaching people how to like niche down and productize their thing that they're doing. So it's spreading out a little bit, but for the most part, yes, I'm consulting with SaaS companies day in and day out on just their content strategy. Yeah.
Well, Deborah, perk up your ears because Deborah has a SaaS company that is
Cool.
about to be explode. And I think content's something on your mind a lot. So why don't we start before you well, maybe this isn't your presentation, but explain why you're so passionate about bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like I became the most interested in it because the idea of being able to create something from scratch and people buy it Like, so again, when I'm going back to building the websites, I would have an idea and then I would bring this idea to life. And it just fascinated me so much that I could have something in my brain and then make it tangible and people pay me money for it. I just became obsessed with that.
Imagine.
It's crazy. So it's like, that's where the whole bottom of the funnel thing came in. I didn't necessarily know how to put a name to it at that time. It was like more of like commercial intent. That's another word used for bottom of funnel, but it was like, I started dabbling with that. At the time, I was like an Amazon affiliate. For anybody that knows, they only pay like 3% commission. So I wasn't like living off of that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, maybe these skills are transferable, right? So I know how to build a website. I know how to write content that gets people to come to the website and pay for something. I'm like, so what if I took this to another world? So I used to hate SaaS. I used to think it was the most boring thing in the world. I'm like, I will never do this. But come to find out, it's like, it is difficult. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to it. It's really difficult for teams because in order to do good bottom of funnel content, you have to have a good mix of not just content marketing, but product marketing too. And a lot of teams are not aligned in that area. So what I find is that a lot of in-house teams communications are siloed, right? So the sales team only talks to the sales team and the product team only talks to the product team. So it's like getting in and kind of being a liaison between these teams to be able to bring the information together is like really what helps them out. And I think teams struggle with that so much, which is why there's so much demand for the whole bottom of funnel thing. It's just hard to do and it's hard to operationalize, and teams are like stretched right now. They're pressed thin. It's like we're being asked to do more with less resources, less budget, less everything. So I think being able to come in and help them consolidate this and operationalize it helps a ton. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I think that there's been this age-old sort of focus on the alignment of sales and marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's like marketing and sales have to be aligned. But you bring up this amazing, so important point that everyone can relate to. It's like, there's one piece of content marketing and inbound that's like adding value, right? It's like adding value. And that's going to build brand awareness, it's going to build trust. But when you need to make the sale, you're right. We need to have a really good knowledge of the product.
Totally.
And then again, you're talking about SaaS, but it doesn't matter if we're selling physical products or we're selling a SaaS product. We need to understand the benefit, like why our product is different, why they should choose our product over another product. So it's like there's the ethereal kind of content strategy, which is like, let's just talk around our topic and around what we sell. But then when we get to brass tacks and we're getting people to make decisions, we need our content marketers, we need our marketing team to understand what's going to make people choose us over someone else. So I love that point. And I think it's not talked about enough.
Totally. And again, this doesn't just relate to SaaS, it relates to every type of product business, because fun fact, before I got into SaaS, I was in e-commerce. So it was a lot of the same thing. But again, SaaS is much more complicated than e-commerce. It's like, if I go to Amazon and I want to buy some lotion, I'm going to buy some lotion, right? Yeah. Versus when you're talking about enterprise level products, you have like buying committees and sales cycles and all this other stuff. But the principle still remains the same. Like you just need to get specific on what it is that you do and how you help solve a specific pain point that your prospect has. So instead of like dancing around the product, like get specific, talk about really, you should be matching. And I say, again, I'm talking in SaaS language, but I'll see if I can like translate it. So like with SaaS, it's like features and benefits and capabilities. Even with a service business, it's like, okay, how does your service business differentiate from somebody else's services business? So it's like, how do you solve the pain point versus how they solve the pain point? And what's in capability, meaning how is the problem solved the specific way you solve it? Like you should be talking about that in your content, because that's what people care about. Especially when we talk about bottom of funnel, it's like, they don't care about, oh, what is this thing? So it's like, and I think that's where sometimes people get it twisted too. It's like, a mix in search intent. If somebody's bottom of funnel, like they don't care about the history of the thing you're doing, oh, what is that? They don't care, right? They care about you listing out how you're specifically going to solve their pain points in the specific way that you do that versus your competitors. Yeah.
Do you have like a way of thinking about what should be happening at the different parts of the funnel?
Yeah. So top of funnel, meaning like somebody's not vastly familiar on the thing that you're teaching. It's like, okay, so what is roofing, right? Like, and then more of like educational based style content, more definition style. So I like to tell people a lot of the time, like top of funnel content is more objective, where bottom of funnel is more subjective, meaning that you're injecting your own opinions and things like that into bottom of funnel. My opinion is that top of funnel content should also be subjective, because somebody should know your take on the status quo the moment they enter your ecosystem. They shouldn't have to get to the bottom of funnel to know your values, what sets you apart, how you look at the industry. It's like that's something that they need to know right away so they can adopt your values and your way of thinking. So for example, like when I get leads and people come to me, they repeat back to me the things that I say to them.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I know people are paying attention. And then from the moment somebody enters my ecosystem, they know the terminology I use, the verbiage, everything. So I would say the same thing for top of funnel, but top of funnel is typically more definition based, more objective style content, where middle of funnel is more how to. So how do I choose a service provider for my roofing needs? You know what I mean? It's like walking them through step by step how you solve a problem. And then bottom of funnel is very similar to that, but it's more of like a head to head. So this roofing company versus that roofing company, or this e-commerce product versus that e-commerce product. So in this proverbial funnel, every stage serves a specific part, and all of it is meant to nurture the prospect down to where you get them to convert, whether that means signing up for a demo, purchasing something, whatever that means to you. The funnel is meant to nurture that person down into that conversion point. Yeah.
How do you, okay, does anyone have any questions there about content that you guys are creating or something specific? I have another question.
No,
No,
I'm taking
was
it all
clear.
in and writing it all down.
Hi. Sorry, do you have a question, Deborah?
No, I was saying it was very clear, and I was like, yeah, thank you to give us, you anecdote when you speech and you forget, and you were like, okay, let's be honest. So that shows that honesty is the key. Always be honest and, sharing your good content.
Yes, totally. I mean, it's scary to be honest sometimes, though. It's like, because, you think you got people judging you and things like that. But honestly, people really admire vulnerability, which is something I'm coming to find out. But no, you're totally right. Yes, being honest is the way for sure. It's helped me get through a lot of different things, especially since stepping out publicly on LinkedIn and building businesses and things like that. Like it's something else that's pretty cool too. It's like everything I tell somebody to do, I've done it myself. I'm actually going to put a post up about this tomorrow as it relates to the public speaking, but I think you're so right. Like being honest is just such a virtue. And when people know that you're honest, it just your brand affinity just goes through the roof. It's like people just trust you, and it just elevates really every part of your life, like business and personal relationships. And yeah, so spot on.
Well, and especially for you to keep in mind, Deborah, because so much of your growth strategy is PR related. And you've had situations where you've been like after the pitch competition, your partner that was crying, right? But did she do that in front of everyone or no? I don't remember. She did, didn't she? And she was so embarrassed. But these things, but you guys have gone viral for things like this. So like people very much connect with it. Okay, I do have one more question. I have a lot of questions because I'm taking notes too as well. But I want to make sure everyone else gets their questions. So guys, if I'm talking too much, just be like, give me a chance. Okay. So when you're thinking of structuring your funnel, right? I think that, the most obvious way to kind of put into play the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel content is through email marketing. But do you kind of envision, like, obviously people are ready for your bottom of the funnel content once they have context, right? And so in an email situation, you can control exactly where they are. But do you think that there's virtue in creating this different content for social media as well? And like, how do you conceptualize that? Is it like, I just build out top, middle, and the bottom of the funnel content on social and kind of trust that people are following along and they're getting context and you're building out different types of content? Or do you believe, no, bottom of the funnel content should only be for like landing pages and email sequences, end of email sequences?
That's a great question. So in order for me to conceptualize a content strategy across multiple channels, I look at everything through a funnel lens. So even when it comes to social strategy, I'm looking at, okay, top, mid, bottom of funnel. They may look different for different channels. So like, for example, for LinkedIn, to me, top of funnel is more of like, okay, I had this public speaking thing I did yesterday and I blanked in front of everybody, but it taught me so much. For everybody that's like, where the hell is she getting this from? I'm literally pulling this from a post I did 2 or 3 days ago. But that would be considered top of funnel, right? You're letting people into you and who you are. Middle of funnel, again, it's more of like that how to, okay, here's how I set up bottom of funnel strategies for SaaS teams, right? It's like really showing off your expertise and getting into the depth of your knowledge. So people be like, ooh, that's smart, right? And then bottom of funnel is like, okay, here's what I've done for this person. If you are X, Y, and Z, reach out to me, right? And really my social strategy is just doing that over and over and over and over. Typically how I like to look at it is like, I like to do maybe like one or two top of funnel posts per week, maybe like another 1 or 2 middle of funnel, and then 1 bottom of funnel per week.
Okay, that's such a good key. Could you repeat that again? Say that again.
Yeah, totally.
I love the actionable, just checklist stuff. So
yes.
Okay.
So 1 to 2 top of funnel posts per week. Again, very like, here's my life, tie it back to what you do in some sort of way, right? Don't just say, oh, my dog died. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
sad. But we want to like tailor it toward what we're trying to do, but it's okay to like let them in a little bit and let them know you're a human. That's 1 to 2 times a week. Middle of funnel, 1 to 2 times a week. Okay, here's how I blank thing that you do that other people are going to be interested in that want to work with you. So for me, like, this is where I put up my visuals and I visually explain things and I do how-to videos. And so there can be multiple different content types within each one of these funnel stages, right? So top of funnel could be video, it could be post, it could be carousel, it could be whatever you want it to be. And then again, middle of funnel, how I is really impactful versus saying how to. How I kind of get